companies to fly cargo and crew to the station. The latter are those laying the groundwork for the mission we're seeing about to launch today. And we're continuing to look ahead onto the horizon, working with companies like Axiom and others to get a jump start on developing new destinations in low Earth orbit where future astronauts, and not just those from NASA, will be able to go and explore and do research just outside of our atmosphere. So we've got our sights on the horizon, and our ultimate goal is for NASA to become one of many customers in this new economy in low Earth orbit as we set our sights on deep space exploration, heading back to the moon and beyond under the Artemis program. Now, the AX-1 mission is a good example of the public and private partnerships that are going to make that future vision a reality. But to take a little bit deeper of a dive, let's jump over now to my colleague, Megan Cruz, who's standing by at Kennedy Space Center with NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. Over to you, Megan.
Good morning to you, Dan, and good morning, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. Great to have you here, as always.
Good morning.
Well, I wanted to talk to you because we know that one of NASA's goals has been to enable commercial efforts in space. With today's Axiom-1 mission, the first all-private crew to the International Space Station, what does today represent for the agency?
We're taking commercial business off the face of the Earth and putting it up in space. And that's one of our main programs now, because we want to get NASA out of low Earth orbit and go explore the heavens. We want to direct our energy and our resources to do that, because we're going back to the moon and we're going to Mars. And so we want, for example, we're going to continue the space station for another 8 years.
Yep.
We want to have commercial space stations. NASA wants to become the ability to lease space on a commercial space station instead of having the responsibility of the space station.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that, because I know that we've seen success with commercial cargo missions, commercial crew missions. Are commercial stations next?
Indeed. That's what we're doing today. We are bringing a commercial company to our ISS. We are then going to have them attach a commercial module to the International Space Station. And then we're encouraging the building. We've got initiatives out there in private industry right now to build a commercial space station. And then all of our international partners on the space station, we're taking with us out into, for example, lunar orbit. The Gateway, which is like a space station in lunar orbit, is going to be a number of nations. Landing on the moon, we're going to have other nations participate as well.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of partnerships going forward with NASA to accomplish some of the big goals that we have.
Well, as it should be, because our program is internationally, and when we go to Mars, there's going to be a delegation from planet Earth.
Mm-hmm. Are you excited for today's launch?
Oh, is the Pope Catholic?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Administrator. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you enjoyed today's launch.
Thanks a lot.
All right, back to you guys at Hawthorne.
We're at T-minus 46 minutes, 10 seconds. We've just heard from the SpaceX launch director.
Brief the CE or LD, and they will approve aborting the countdown. For urgent issues affecting the safety of the operation, operators shall call hold on the countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch auto sequence and immediately proceed into launch abort. At T-minus 10 seconds, launch control will be hands-off and relying on automated abort criteria for the remainder of the count. Operators advise the launch director whether structural breakup or fire is imminent occurring per Dragon manual escape flight rules. For those operators in firing group 4, in the event of a fire alarm, key operators noted in 57.83 will remain at their post while the alarm is evaluated. In the event that personnel safety is threatened, evacuate to the south-facing emergency exit, which leads directly outside. Firing group 4 and MCCX will go into a sterile cockpit and lock down for the duration of the time the launch escape system is armed. Launch control at this time, you may proceed with arming the crew arm for movement.
Over that, arming crew arm for movement.
T-minus 45 minutes and counting. You've just heard the SpaceX launch director give the final execution instructions to the launch
Crew
team.
access arm retraction started.
We're ready for propellant load. That'll begin in about 10 minutes. Before that, we've got crew access arm to retract happening now, and then arming of the launch escape system. Everything continues to look good for an on-time launch of Falcon 9 with Axiom 1 mission.
Dragon SpaceX for tablets. As we prepare to step into LES arming, I need you to verify that the elastic bands are over the corners of all of the iPads in the vehicle.
Roger, stand by. SpaceX Endeavour, Arthur, I can confirm that the elastic band on the satchels are around the tablets and altitude.
All right, copy that. Thank you, MLA. And for awareness, that last call came in pretty quiet, so if you could speak up on the upcoming calls, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, we'll give you an update here. Inside of 43 minutes, crew access arm has retracted from the Dragon spacecraft. Next up, we've got launch escape system arming. And then at T-minus 45 minutes, or T-minus 35 minutes, we'll begin loading propellant onto the Falcon 9. So right now, Falcon 9s go, Dragons go. Weather looks good, and the range areas are also cleared for launch. So Kate,
Crew
John,
access
everything
arm
is
retraction
looking good.
complete.
Inside of 42 minutes, everything continues to go well. Waiting now for launch escape system arming.
Endeavour SpaceX for launch escape system.
Go ahead, Arthur.
All right, MLA, at this time I can give you a go to step through section 7 of 4.100, close visors and arm the launch escape system.
That should work. SpaceX Endeavour, visors are closed. We are arming the launch escape system.
Dragon SpaceX launch escape system is verified armed.
Copy SpaceX.
All right, there you heard it. The launch escape system is now armed. You can see there the crew in their seats with the visors down. Launch escape system, is the first of its kind escape system. It provides escape capability all the way to orbit. It's a really important function to have. Obviously, no intention of using it today, but that's what those call-outs were there back and forth that we just heard.
Right, and as we heard earlier too from Administrator Bill Nelson, the importance of low Earth orbit. So speaking of just how valuable low Earth orbit is, the crew of X-1 will be conducting a tremendous amount of science over the course of their 8 days on board the ISS. And not only does that include 25 Axiom managed studies, but it also includes the Axiom crew participating in efforts that extend far beyond this mission. Some of those we actually looked at earlier. One of these broader studies is a series of health monitoring tests before and after the flight. A few days ago, I was able to connect with Dr. Emmanuel Riqueta to talk about the ongoing research this crew will participate in on behalf of the Translation Research Institute for Space Health, also known as TRISH. Here's our conversation.
Dr. Riqueta, welcome. It is wonderful to get to talk to you. Please introduce yourself and tell us, what is TRISH?
Absolutely. My name is Emmanuel Riqueta, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer at the Translational Research Institute for Space Health. And I'm also faculty at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. The Translational Research Institute for Space Health, or TRISH, we're partners to the Human Research Program at NASA. And one of our main goals is to find and fund new disruptive research that is high risk but potentially high reward, with the end goal of keep humans healthy both in space and on Earth. And we have been working with commercial spaceflight missions since last year, and Axiom 1 is our 4th commercial spaceflight mission.
That's really fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit more about your primary areas of focus or what you're studying on this mission?
Yeah, so TRISH focuses mainly on the high priority areas of human spaceflight research. And I would say the 3 highest priority areas are radiation, behavioral issues that come from being isolated and confined in space. And the third one is how your body changes while you're in a different gravity field, either a zero-G environment like in space, or during different gravity fields when you're in the moon or Mars.
Okay, interesting. So what kind of systems or hardware are you working with specifically to capture this data?
For this mission, the hardware that we're using is absolutely optimized to provide, number one, the highest quality data, while being still easy to use, easy to implement, and being the lowest burden to the astronauts. So to collect all of this data, for example, vision changes, we have been using a small device, is roughly the size of a shoebox that you can see here. I have this here with me. So this is basically like having an optometrist on a box. Basically, the only thing that you have to do is just grab it, put it on your eyes, look at an object that is roughly 6 feet away from you, and after a few seconds, you get a prescription of your glasses right here. So as I was saying, if there's any changes on astronauts during these missions, we'll be able to see how that changes with this device. We're also looking, I was mentioning, at behavioral changes, how being in an isolated and confined environment has any behavioral aspects. And for this one, we have been using a small tablet like this one, also to test the sensory motor adaptation, the balance disorders, and the space motion sickness. We're using a device like this. And for each of the crew members, we have a set of hardware like this, and it fits. The 4 sets of hardware fits on a medium-sized suitcase. So it is really easy to move wherever it needs to go for launch and landing.
That's wonderful. So what are some of the intended outcomes or goals of the research you're doing?
Yeah, so some of the outcomes and one of the main applications, number one for spaceflight that we want to get from this research is that short duration missions like Axiom 1 are very, very relevant in the context of Artemis missions. When we go back to the moon, the first missions are going to be roughly the same duration as Axiom 1. So anything new that we learn from these missions is going to be absolutely valuable. Really, every new piece of data that we collect in spaceflight could potentially solve and be that last piece of the puzzle that we're looking to complete what we need to know.
Dr. Riqueta, thank you so much for speaking with us today. We wish you the best of luck.
It is my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we are about 30 minutes out from launch of the historic AX-1 mission. It has taken an enormous effort from an incredibly dedicated and hardworking team to get to this moment. And that team wanted to take an opportunity to wish the crew of AX-1 well and Godspeed.
Hey AX-1, we're so happy for you guys and just want to let you know we've got you here on the ground in mission control, so fly high and have some fun.
From all of us here at the Integrated Performance Team, we want to wish you luck on your pioneering mission to the ISS and hope to see you in a couple years when AX-H1 launches.
It is not only an immense honor to get to watch your monumental mission, but also to have been able to support you on your journey towards this day as well.
Hey guys, can't wait for this mission. We put a lot of hard work in. We're excited for you all to have a great time up there, and good luck.
Thank you for helping set an important precedence ahead of a very bright future.
Good luck, AX-1 crew. Let's conquer space.
Hasta pronto.
Woo! We want to send you all off with good wishes in this incredible journey. Godspeed.
It has been such an honor to watch and support you guys as you prepare for this moment. I'm so proud of each one of you for the dedication, the long hours, and the hard work you put into making this a meaningful mission.
Hello, Axiom astronauts. Thanks for stepping up to the plate for this amazing journey.
You guys have trained hard, you've waited a long time, and this is now happening. Safe travels on this historic mission for the first private astronauts to go to the ISS. It's happening. Wave to us from up above because we'll be thinking of you from down below.
We're the Axiom safety team. We just want you to know that we are really proud of you and we've got your back. We're wishing you a safe and successful mission, and we'll see you when you get back on the ground.
Hi guys, we're the Axiom Soft Goods team, and we just want to wish you a good mission and get back safely.
It's a real pleasure to be talking with you guys right now, and we're super excited for you. I'm here to cheer you on along with the entire Crew Systems team. Yay. Thanks for everything you're doing.
I wish you all the very best, the greatest of success, and the most fun and the most challenging, interesting thing in your life. Go big and enjoy your time on the ISS. We'll see you back on the ground.
Hey guys, I am so proud of the Axiom 1 crew. It's so fun to be a part of something bigger than you and to contribute. Most important thing to remember, guys, take some time to look out the window and appreciate where you are. It's space.
We're T-minus 31 minutes and 40 seconds, counting down to the first all-private astronaut mission to the International Space Station. Now, a few minutes ago, Falcon 9 propellant loading began on time at T-minus 35 minutes. RP-1 fuel loading is underway on both the first and second stages. Liquid oxygen loading is underway on the first stage. Now, we'll finish up fuel loading on the second stage at about T-minus 20 minutes. Doesn't take very long. And then we'll begin loading liquid oxygen on the second stage at about T-minus 16 and a half minutes. We'll continue propellant loading on Falcon 9 up until about T-minus 2 minutes. Now, speaking of propellants, the Dragon spacecraft was loaded with its propellants about a week and a half ago, just a few miles down the road from the launch site at what we call Dragonland. In order to fly, Dragon needs a fuel and an oxidizer.
Start of stage 1 cryohelium loading.
For the fuel, we use monomethylhydrazine, or MMH, and nitrogen tetroxide, or NTO, for oxidizer. Now together, these propellants feed the Draco engines that will maneuver Dragon on orbit, changing its attitude, raising its orbit to get to the space station. But that propellant also serves a second purpose, and that would be to use in the 8 Super Draco engines that would power the launch escape system in an escape scenario. But right now on pad 39A, nice view of Falcon 9 with Dragon there. You can see the crew axis arm has retracted away from the Dragon spacecraft. The 4-person crew is inside Dragon right now. The launch escape system is armed. Propellant is going into the Falcon 9. So since we are at this stage with the launch escape system armed, that means the 8 Super Draco engines inside the Crew Dragon are ready, if needed, to launch the capsule away from the Falcon 9 rocket in an instant, should there be any kind of emergency associated with the rocket or the pad. We have the ability to use a launch escape system right now if it was needed. A couple other status items. Weather, as you can see, looks good. Probability of violating the launch commit criteria is less than 10%. The only thing we're watching is wind gusts, but we believe, having seen the wind for the last several hours, everything continues to look good. That should not be an issue. Weather is also good in the Atlantic Ocean should we need to use a launch escape splashdown site for the Dragon capsule. We've also got upper altitude winds we've been checking out. Balloons have been released by the range here recently. We continue to look good for upper altitudes as Falcon 9 flies through the periods of maximum dynamic pressure. And finally, on the range, of course, we have cleared the danger areas, the hazard, the caution areas. Everybody's out of there except the 4-person crew up in the Dragon capsule, very top of the rocket you can see in the picture. So coming up, T-minus 28 minutes, 30 seconds, everything continuing to look good on Falcon 9 with Dragon for the Axiom 1 mission.
Let's take a moment now to get acquainted with the vehicles that you see there on your screen. That's a live view of Falcon 9 with Dragon, our spacecraft on top. Falcon 9 rocket is a rocket, Falcon 9 rocket with the Dragon spacecraft on top. Together stands about 215 feet, which is almost 30 feet taller than the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy, which is 183 feet. Falcon 9 is a reusable 2-stage liquid-fueled rocket, which means that it's kind of like 2 rockets in one, the first stage and the second stage.
Very cool. So talking a bit about that first stage. The first stage is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle that you see there. Has that nice patina. It's been reused a little bit. It's covered in soot from a previous mission. That first stage is responsible for accelerating Falcon and Dragon through the Earth's atmosphere and into space. To do that, it has 9 Merlin engines at the bottom of that first stage. Prior to liftoff, the Falcon 9 first stage is loaded up with nearly 1 million pounds of fuel and liquid oxygen. And the Merlin engines on the first stage are
orbital class rocket in the world can do. It'll make its way back to Earth and target a landing on our drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas, which you see there on your screen. The seas look great. The blue skies, I don't think it could be any more picture perfect.
No, it's like a desktop right there, I think.
Our drone ships are essentially autonomous, powered spaceports that allow our rocket to land over the ocean. For reference, our drone ships are equivalent to the size of a football field. So while it may have looked kind of small on your screen, they're actually pretty ginormous in real life.
It's got to be to hold a rocket, right? As mentioned previously, Falcon 9 is a 2-stage rocket. It's 2 rockets in one. Above the first stage is the second stage. Now, the second stage has a single Merlin vacuum, or MVAC, engine, which ignites after the first stage separates.
Cryo-helium loading.
Now, the second stage is essentially a smaller version of the first stage, and whereas the first stage is designed to power the vehicle out of Earth's atmosphere and the forces of gravity, the second stage is specifically designed to operate in the vacuum of space. The second stage powers the Dragon spacecraft to its specific targeted drop-off point in orbit.
The Dragon spacecraft is capable of carrying up to 7 passengers to and from Earth orbit and beyond. wait for confirmation of good orbital insertion. About 90 seconds after Dragon gets into orbit, Falcon 9 will land back on Earth. The landing burn, which is a single engine burn, will bring the vehicle's speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship at about 9.5 minutes into the mission.
And while Falcon 9's first stage is landing, Dragon is preparing to separate from the second stage. At about 3 minutes after the second stage gets into orbit, we should have a great view of Dragon with its 4-person crew drifting away from the second stage. Now, once Dragon is a short distance away, it will begin checking out its Draco maneuvering thrusters to make sure Dragon continues to increase separation distance from the second stage.
And lastly, the nose cone deploy sequence will initiate just before T plus 12 minutes and finish around T plus 15 minutes. And this sequence will expose Dragon's docking mechanism in advance of its arrival at the International Space Station. So, as you can tell, it's a pretty jam-packed 12 minutes.
Yeah, pay attention. Pay close attention to what you're listening to.
Don't blink. With all of that in mind, let's head back over to Dan Hewitt for an update from the ISS team over at Johnson Space Center. Dan?
Hey, thanks, Kate. Now, inside the room, the International Space Station Flight Control Room, Flight Director Scott Stover is leading the teams right now. But just about 4 hours ago, NASA Flight Director Diane Daly gave a go on behalf of the combined ISS team to the SpaceX mission director, just saying that ISS, or the space station, was go for launch. Now, to get there, we've got a list of flight rules, basically just guidelines for all of the major systems we have to make sure are functioning on board station before we can give a go to launch another crew up there. So we're looking at everything from those core critical command and control computers, verifying we have a good communication path through our tracking and data relay satellites, ensuring that the atmosphere, all of the life support systems on board are functioning, even the mechanical systems like the docking port where this mission is headed. So we're expecting today's flight to be about a 20.5-hour journey from launch to docking, with the Crew Dragon Endeavour headed towards the Node 2 Zenith. That's the space-facing port on the top of Node 2, the Harmony module on board the station. And once they get there, they're going to get welcomed by the Expedition 67 crew, which is made up of 7 individuals right now, 4 from our SpaceX through Crew 3 mission with 3 NASA astronauts and 1 ESA European astronaut. And they're joined by 3 cosmonauts that just arrived on station about 2 weeks ago. Now, so it's going to take them about 20.5 hours to get there. That docking right now is targeted for 11:45 GMT on Saturday. That's 6:45 a.m. here in Houston, 4:45 for the teams over in Hawthorne. And so once they get there, they'll be able to get out of their suits on board the Dragon spacecraft, while the team on board station moves into what's known as the hatch operations. Station Commander Tom Marchand is going to be pressurizing that small area between Dragon and the station hatches, and we expect it to be a little under 2 hours from docking to hatch open, and then we'll welcome the AX-1 crew on board the space station. So a lot to come with that 20.5-hour journey, but all that's going to start with a launch. So I'll send it back over to Hawthorne as we get into the final phases of the countdown. Back over to you, John.
Right. Well, Dan, as you mentioned, it all starts with the launch. And Kate, it's looking like it's getting pretty busy here. People are excited about seeing a launch, right?
Yeah, we're just now under 20 minutes until liftoff. As you could probably tell by the noise, the crew here, excuse me, the crowd here in Hawthorne, we're at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, is starting to gather just beyond mission control here in the building. And you might be able to tell by the ambient noise, in addition to the live production noises that you also hear. You know, we are in a rocket factory. But yeah, you can see there the crowd is starting to grow behind the team there at Hawthorne Mission Control. Now, we saw Dan speaking earlier from Mission Control in Johnson. There is a Mission Control Center in Florida where the SpaceX teams are also gathered in Firing Room 4. And then we have the Mission Control Center here. There's a shot of our Firing Room 4 there in Florida at Cape Canaveral. You can just barely make out Pad 39A there in the distance there through the window. Might be wondering why all the different mission control rooms. The one in Johnson, as Dan was saying, you know, that's really mission control for the International Space Station and those operations. The control room that you see there is for everything leading up to launch. As soon as Falcon 9 lifts off, responsibility and control transfers to Mission Control Center here in Hawthorne. So just a quick explanation for why so many rooms with computers.
Exactly. Yeah, and in addition to all the teams gathering here, we've got teams of our own gathering in Houston at Axiom headquarters. You can see there on your screen Axiom Mission Control with the lovely Axiom family behind them looking in proudly. All right, well, Dan mentioned that, first we have launch, then we got rendezvous and docking, and then we've got 8 days of jam-packed activity on the ISS.
So busy.
Yeah, and docking day it's not just a ride to space, right? You get up there, you open that hatch, and crew is working. I got a little chance to look at some of their timeline.
Buenas, ¿qué tal, gente?
They are getting invited in.
¿Cómo
They're
están?
getting trained on some emergency procedures and then stepping right into payload activities, stowage transfers.
Acá estamos en una para compartir un nuevo lanzamiento.
Before they go to sleep, and the work doesn't stop there.
Esta vez en el caso de 4 astronautas privados que van a la Estación Espacial.
Even, we know that even sleep time is scheduled on the ISS. It's something that's incredible to me is that not only do you have work to do, your science experiments and that kind of stuff, not only do you have to get some sleep,
Empezó hace un rato la carga de combustible
you
en
also
ambas
have to
etapas.
exercise, right? The exercise time,
Los
which
astronautas
can be a couple
están
hours.
desde hace más de una
Alright, so
hora
good news there. We have
adentro
begun
de
LOX
la
load,
cápsula.
liquid oxygen loading on second stage. So that is currently underway for first and second stage, as well
Esperemos que
as
todo
loading of
vaya bien
RP1, which is our
y
fuel on
llegue
both first and
sin
second stages.
problemas a la Estación Espacial.
Right, and again, some of those things that he talked about, it's all following a timeline, right? And we are listening for those important cues along the way that we're hearing on these nets or on the loops. Listening for where are we along in that timeline, so we know exactly where we are.
La primera etapa de 10:52:5
from launch.
Yeah, so
volará
I'm
por
looking
quinta vez
at my dashboard here. It looks like fuel
y
load
va a
on
intentar ser
second
recuperada
stage
más o
is
menos
now
a
complete.
545
So we're
kilómetros de las
beginning that LOX
costas
load as we just
por la
heard.
barcaza A
LOX
Shortfall.
load and fuel load continues on first stage. Axiom crew continuing to wait, following along with everything happening there with the touchscreen displays there above them, as well as their tablets strapped to their legs.
Right.
Everything continuing to look nominal for liftoff in just about 15 minutes.
And as we approach that liftoff, in these final moments of our countdown to launch, Axiom Space founders Cam Gaffarian and Mike Suffredini wanted to take a moment to reflect on this mission.
Well, this moment for me and Michael is a very special moment in a beginning of many beginnings, right? The launch of AX-1 going to International Space Station as part of our journey to build the first private commercial space station. And we're so grateful to be here and delighted at this moment as part of this incredible journey to commercialize and privatize low Earth orbit.
On behalf of Cam and I, we'd like to thank the entire team that's made this historic journey possible. The SpaceX team in particular has done a tremendous job of prepping our crew for a launch on their transportation vehicle. The crew itself has done a fantastic job of getting themselves ready and planning their research. NASA, of course, we can't do this without NASA's leadership and support. And to each of you in the Axiom Space family, we couldn't have done it without you. We're looking forward to a bright future together.
Bueno, tiempo menos 14 minutos. Por ahora es todo go.
Everything is still looking good for launch of Falcon 9 and Dragon.
Increíble. En 14 minutos volveremos a despegar Falcon 9 con una nueva misión tripulada.
As a recap, Falcon 9 began propellant loading at T-minus 35 minutes. We just heard loading of the RP1 fuel. The kerosene fuel onto stage 2 was completed right on time at T-minus 20 minutes. We've still got fuel going onto the first stage. Looks like we're about 90% or so full right now. Fuel loading will finish up at T-minus 6 minutes, and we'll hear that call out in the countdown. Meanwhile, densified liquid oxygen is continuing to load onto both the first and
Ahí
second stages.
vemos
First stage will
la
close
Crew
out
Dragon,
at T-minus 3
la
minutes.
C206,
Second stage, we just began loading
que
liquid
volará por
oxygen
tercera
at
vez.
T-minus 16 and a half
Esta
minutes just a
cápsula
few minutes ago.
voló en la
That'll wrap up at the
muy
T-minus
recordada
2-minute mark.
misión Demo 2.
We load the liquid oxygen as late as we can in the countdown.
y después voló en Crew 2. Luego el booster lanzó la misión Starlink 4/5, lanzó la misión Inspiration 4, esa recordada misión que fue increíble, épico, que también la vimos en directo por el canal. Después este booster lanzó 2 misiones GPS, la misión GPS III SV05 y GPS III SV04. O sea, 4 vuelos previos de esta primera etapa, la B1052.5.
As we come up on the 12-minute mark, the range continues to be go. Roadblocks are
Y
up,
como
all the hazard
pueden
areas
ver
are
allá
clear.
arriba a la izquierda,
Airspace, sea space is good.
la infografía que
Weather
tenemos
is go. Beautiful shots
de
you
la
can see
misión
here.
Axiom
Blue
1.
skies. I'm looking forward to some great views from the
Y hay una
cameras
pequeña
as we
descripción,
head into space. And finally on the
una pequeña
Dragon
descripción
side, the
de la
Dragon
misión.
mission director and team, they're reporting no
Y bueno,
issues.
a dónde va, que es a una órbita baja terrestre, a la Estación Espacial Internacional, órbita aproximadamente de 416 kilómetros, a una inclinación de 51.66 grados. El lanzamiento está previsto para hoy, 8 de abril de 2022, a las 15:17 horario universal.
Final instructions of the crew will come in about a minute and a half at T-10. We'll listen to that.
El lanzamiento se realizará desde la plataforma LC-39A del Kennedy Space Center. Recuerden que la plataforma que está cerca, o sea, en el mismo complejo, pero en el pad B, o sea, LC-39B es el SLS de la NASA, de que hemos tenido increíbles imágenes del Falcon 9 y el SLS, cada uno en su plataforma. Bueno, poco se sabrá que estamos a tiempo -10. Ya casi, ya falta poco, yo ya estoy muy emocionado. Esperemos que todo vaya según lo planeado.
Is during ascent you may hear 1 Alpha, 1 Bravo, 2 Alpha. These are launch escape states. As the Falcon 9 flies, if a launch escape was required, the crew on board knows where they are passing various points in the countdown, and that would tell Dragon what sequence of events to execute to come off of the Falcon 9 and bring the crew back safely down into the parachutes in the ocean. Right now, T-10 minutes. Let's listen in to the countdown now.
Dragon, SpaceX, confirmed crew displays are configured for launch.
Tiempo -10.
SpaceX Endeavour, we confirm they're configured. Copy MLA, and on behalf of the entire SpaceX team, we're honored to have you aboard Endeavour for its 3rd flight to the International Space Station. Axiom 1 marks a new step in commercial spaceflight and research. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
Thanks for those words, Arthur. I've got a few of my own. I'm going to let my crewmate Eitan say it first, though.
שלום. כמה ימים לפני שאנחנו מציינים את המסע הגדול שלנו לחירות. And a few minutes before launching on this journey, I wish to share with you the words of the Greek poet Constantine Cavafy that well describe the perspective of our marvelous crew. Keep Ithaca always in your mind. Arriving there is what you are destined for, but do not hurry the journey at all. Better if it lasts for years. So you are old by the time you reach the island, wealthy with all you have gained on the way, not expecting Ithaca to make you rich. Ithaca gave you this marvelous journey. בהצלחה X1, בהצלחה רקיע.
Thank you, Eitan. I'm going to continue far less elegantly or eloquently, but as we sit here on the precipice of this new era in human spaceflight, we do so on the shoulders of professionals at SpaceX, NASA, and Axiom. We want to thank all the teams at SpaceX, Falcon 9, Dragon, the launch team, of course, closeout team, all of the folks in mission control, and of course our training teams. With NASA, boy, it's been tough.
7 minutos con 50. Falta menos.
It's all open field running, but with ISS program, commercial LEO development, and flight operations, we've learned a lot and will continue to do so. We want to thank Cam and Seth for their vision, but especially all the people at Axiom for putting this mission together with the minor miracles that they've performed. All of you, make no mistake, are the men and the women in the arena. Your faces are marred, if metaphorically, by the dust, sweat, and blood, and you strive valiantly. You will have no place with the cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. The crew of the great ship Endeavour is ready to sail her proudly, Arthur.
Bueno, en chill.
Some heartfelt words there.
Stage 1 engine chill has started.
All right, so there was the call that we have begun to chill the
O sea,
engines,
el motor se
the
empieza,
first stage. So what we're doing right now
los motores se
is
empiezan a
flowing a little
enfriar
bit
en
of the
preparación
super
para el
chilled
lanzamiento.
liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps on those M1D engines. There's 9 of them at
6
the base
minutos y
of the first
medio.
stage.
Ay, ay, ay.
And that's
Qué
essentially
emoción.
bringing them down to the temperature of that super chilled liquid
Estoy
oxygen
nervioso y
to
contento a
prevent
la
any
vez.
thermal shock to the hardware. Just
Increíble.
before that call, some really heartfelt words from Commander MLA and Mission Specialist Eitan Stiba. Really love hearing that commentary.
Stage 1 RP load is complete.
At this point in time, fuel is fully loaded on both the first and second stage. LOX loading continues on both stages.
Coming up on 5.5 minutes. Kate's let us know that we've got the fuel load complete. Next is coming up. We're T-minus 5 minutes. Dragon will be transitioning configuration for terminal count and going on its internal battery power. Everything continues to look good as we're counting
Tiempo
down.
menos 5 minutos con 15 segundos. Ay, ay, ay. Menos 5 minutos. Bah, menos no. 5 minutos lleva el lanzamiento, increíble. Y en breve se retraerá la torre de lanzamiento. Strong back.
Falcon 9 tanks are pressing for strong back retracts.
Ahora en breves instantes.
Heard the call out. We're pressurizing the tanks for strong back retract. We'll hear a sequence momentarily. Strong back is retracting. Actually, that's the start of about a 1-minute sequence. At about T-minus 4 minutes, the clamp arms that you can see there will open, and then
Strong back is retracted.
And then we will see the retract from there. So we've heard the call out. That's the start of the sequence. Doesn't mean that the clamp arms
Strong
are
back
late
and
open.
retract.
Will take us a few more seconds.
Ahora esas pinzas que están viendo ahí arriba se abrirán
The excitement
y
and the crowd is really growing
la torre blanca
here at SpaceX headquarters at
se inclinará un poquito hacia atrás.
California.
Ahí vemos cómo está abriendo la pinza que nunca me acuerdo su nombre
The clamp
original.
arms have begun to open. And next we should see the strong back begin to retract.
Increíble esta cámara para ver el lanzamiento, o sea el despegue. Y como ven allá en el fondo se ve la plataforma que está construyendo para la Starship. Recuerden que ahí mismo en la LZTWA van a construir la plataforma de lanzamiento militar para el conjunto de Starship Super Heavy. Ahí vemos cómo se retrae la torre.
Everything continue to look phenomenal as we're now under 3.5 minutes until launch. RP1 fuel is fully loaded on first and second stage. Should be wrapping up LOX load on the first stage momentarily and continuing to fill on second stage.
Ahora la Dragon se está alimentando de sus baterías internas.
We're under 3 minutes until liftoff of the Axiom 1 mission.
Dragon is in terminal count and is on internal power.
All right, there we heard that Dragon is on internal power. As I was saying, we're getting close. The crowds are growing.
Al menos
The
2
excitement
minutos con
is
30.
palpable.
Ay, sí,
You
la
can see there on
emoción
the
se hace
left-hand side of your screen,
presente.
mission control here in Hawthorne, California, just behind where John and I are.
Qué épico.
And then on the right-hand side, that looks like Axiom mission
That
control.
looks like Axiom Mission Control in Houston, Texas. Everybody's waving and
2
saying,
con
hey.
17. Ay,
All right, at this point in time, that LOX load on first stage is complete. So the first stage is now fully loaded with all of its propellant.
2 minutos. Vamos.
LOX load on second stage continues.
Vamos que falta Vero. Qué alegría. Vamos a pasar a pantalla completa.
All right,
Vamos a
so
poner la
there's that call.
cámara.
At this
Ahí
point
está.
in time, Falcon 9 is
Dragon is in
Ahí
auto
está,
idle.
pantalla completa.
Dragon is fully loaded with all of its propellants, nearly 1 million pounds of that propellant.
Next event coming up.
1 minuto con 30. Vamos.
The gas closeouts. We finished pressurizing the storage tanks on board the Falcon 9. They gave the crew the heads up,
Increíble.
and they hear some loud venting noises. We're
Se
also
acerca el
going to vent
momento,
down the liquid
este
oxygen line
esperadísimo
that carried
momento de ver el
the
despegue.
box up to the second stage. Generates a typical large white cloud of condensation around the strong bag. Big event coming up now, T-minus 1 minute, all the flight computers take over. Let's listen in to the last minute of terminal count.
1 minuto, gente. 1 minuto. Increíble. Ahora Falcon 9 se empieza a alimentar de sus baterías internas. Inicia la secuencia de despegue. Ahora mismo el Falcon 9 tiene control de sí mismo. Ya deja de depender de las conexiones de afuera. Las conexiones de torre. 30 segundos. Ay, se siente la alegría. Es tripulada. Necesita ver alegría en 20. Bueno, 20 ahora sí. Ay, increíble.
T-minus 15 seconds.
15. 10.
10, 9, 8, 7,
Mayor máximo.
6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
0. Ignition.
Ignición.
Stop. Go
Despegue.
Falcon. Go Dragon.
Ahora.
Godspeed. Axiom 1.
¡Qué alegría!
Chapter begins.
¡Qué emoción!
Godspeed AX1.
Increíble.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
La emoción se hace presente. Y mucho más ahora en pleno despegue. Increíble. Épico.
Plus 38 seconds into this historic mission, flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
All right, telemetry nominal. Stage 1 throttle down.
Throttling down in the preparation for max dynamic pressure.
Un minuto.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Increíble. Estamos llegando a Maxi Q, donde el vehículo sufre el mayor estrés estructural, la mayor presión aerodinámica.
Stage 1 throttle up.
Merlin 1D engines coming back up to power.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
The crew calling out 1 Bravo should a escape situation arise. It tells the Dragon flight computer what profile to fly using the Super Draco engines. But everything is looking good on Falcon 9.
Increíble esta cámara.
We're getting nominal callouts from all the engineers and a great view from the ground camera and the onboard cameras.
Invac chill underway.
beginning to chill in the second stage turbo pump in preparation for its ignition, coming up in just over half a minute from now. Coming up on about 3.5 G's acceleration for the crew. We'll begin throttling down the Merlin engines to hold that level of acceleration.
Se acerca el apagado del motor de la primera etapa, separación de ambas etapas y encendido del motor de la segunda etapa.
Coming up, we're going to get main engine cut off of the main engines. Get stage separation and ignition of the second stage engine. You've heard the throttle down call out. We're holding 3.5 G's for the crew.
And Miko.
Apagado del motor de la primera etapa, separación de las mismas y ahora la encendida del motor de la segunda etapa. Encendida, ahí está.
Back ignition.
Successful stage separation ignition of the second stage engine on the left.
Despliegue
The
de la
titanium
posición
grid fins
dinámica de
beginning
la
to
primera
slowly
etapa.
deploy. Great views from the
Ahora
first stage camera.
la primera etapa
The
se
first stage
dirige
now
hacia
begins
la
a
caja
slow flip
mientras
maneuver.
la
You
segunda
can
etapa
see
se
the white
dirige
nitrogen
rumbo
gas
a los
plumes
27.000
as we
kilómetros por hora para
reorient for
conseguir
entry back
órbita.
through the Earth's atmosphere a little bit later in the plus count. Second stage, we see the engine nozzle glowing red. Everything continuing to look good on the second stage. We should be hearing call-outs coming up to the crew here shortly on how the trajectory is looking.
Bueno.
Dragon
Ya
SpaceX
pasó y como
trajectory
quien
nominal.
dice lo más arriesgado.
What
¿no?
we like to hear.
Acquisition of signal,
No sé
Bermuda.
si, sí.
AOS Bermuda, acquisition of signal. The Bermuda tracking station now getting telemetry from the second stage of the Falcon 9 with the Dragon on top. T plus 4 minutes, 10 seconds. Everything continues to be nominal. First stage coasting to apogee, and then it'll come back down for landing on the drone ship. Second stage partway through its lengthy burn to get the crew into orbit. So Kate, 4.5 minutes in, everything continues to look good.
What a absolutely picture
La
perfect
primera etapa está yendo a su apogeo,
liftoff.
o sea, hacia su
Got a
punto
live
más
view
alto,
of the crew inside
166
Dragon
kilómetros.
Endeavour. Looks like everyone is still pretty comfy. As John had said earlier, we got
Dragon
to
SpaceX trajectory nominal.
all right, good call out there. That trajectory is nominal.
Bueno,
As John
167
mentioned, we got
kilómetros
to
el
about
apogeo de la
3.5
primera
Gs
etapa.
there.
Acquisition of signal, New Hampshire.
Como ven, no llega a velocidad cero porque hay mucha velocidad horizontal.
On the left-hand side of your screen, we can see the first stage as it is making its way back down to Earth. It's targeting a landing on our drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas, which is parked a couple hundred miles off the coast of Florida, out in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage on the right-hand side, everything continues to be nominal there, as the MVAC engine is powering the second stage and Dragon Endeavour to its targeted drop-off orbit. Absolutely beautiful views of both the first and second
Dragon
stages.
SpaceX trajectory nominal.
All right, so coming up in about a minute and a half, the first stage will execute the first of 2 burns required for today's landing attempt. At about T plus 7 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll see the entry burn begin. That's where the first stage will ignite the center engine first, and then a couple seconds later ignite 2 more engines, so a total of 3 engine burn, which will last about 29 seconds. The entry burn slows the vehicle down significantly as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere. The first stage sees high drag, which scrubs roughly 70% of that velocity by the time that the landing burn begins. Stunning view where you can see the curvature of the Earth there on the left-hand side.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
SpaceX Endeavour, we copy.
There you can see the nitrogen gas thrusters. So that's the puff of gas that you see there occasionally. That's used for attitude control systems. We also utilize those grid fins that you see. There are 4 of them placed around the booster. And those grid fins also help steer for a precise landing, either at
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 2 flight
All right,
termination.
there we can see that entry burn has begun. We are targeting a landing on our drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas, today. Everything continuing to look nominal with trajectory and MVAC performance there for our second stage on the right-hand side. So we are conducting the entry burn. Previously, the booster was...
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
Y encendido
That entry
completado.
burn helps slow the
Ahora se
booster
empieza a
down.
dirigir
It was going about
aerodinámicamente
25
hacia la
times the speed of
barcaza
sound.
ASO,
So we slow it down as it
que está ubicada a
re-enters the dense part of the
545
Earth's
kilómetros de
atmosphere.
las costas, aproximadamente. ¿Tendremos aterrizaje sin video cortado, como la última misión de
The next
Transporter
event
4?
is second engine cutoff, or SECO 1, as you see it there on the timeline at the
Parece
bottom
que
of
se
your
va a cortar
screen.
video. Bueno,
Stage 2 and terminal guidance.
That's
la
where we
segunda
shut
etapa está
down
llegando a órbita
the
ya.
MVAC engine, or second engine cutoff.
Copy, Shannon.
Stage 1 transonic.
Note that our landing burn and second engine cutoff will
Y
occur about
estamos
the
en
same
órbita.
time.
La segunda etapa
Alright,
está en
got a live
órbita
view
y
of
la
crew
primera
inside
etapa,
Dragon Endeavour
encendido
there
de
on the right-hand
aterrizaje.
side of your screen.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Ojo que el video no se corta.
Landing burn has begun for the first stage.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
A ver,
All
de
right,
acá.
great news there. Dragon
A ver,
Endeavour,
¿tendremos aterrizaje?
nominal orbit insertion.
Parece que va
SpaceX Endeavour.
todo ok.
Copy, and it's great to be here. 0G, and we feel fine.
No.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. SpaceX
Impecable video sin corte del aterrizaje. Increíble.
As you can see, this Falcon 9
Increíble.
has landed for
No
the
aterrizó en el
5th
centro.
time. All the while, great commentary there.
Go SpaceX. Go
While we can
Axiom
confirm the
Space.
landing.
No aterrizó en el centro igual.
Confirmed landing there of the first stage booster. Also, almost simultaneously, great news for the second stage. We heard that there was nominal orbit insertion for Crew Dragon Endeavour. There you can see a live view inside our Dragon.
Increíble.
Looks like the crew is beginning to adjust to 0G. And if you look at the right-hand side corner, it looks like we can see the
La emoción que
0G
se
indicator.
siente.
That was one of the things I really wanted to see, what they were going to bring for their 0G indicator. So I can't wait to
Aterrizaje
see
número
what comes
5
on.
de esta primera etapa.
Looks, I can't quite tell. Pokemon? Maybe. Okay, well, hopefully it'll come into closer view.
Yeah,
But
and if not, we'll get to ask them later, hopefully.
yeah, great to see the crew here again, starting to really getting their first taste of microgravity.
Yeah.
Oh, it has ears. Oh, it's a bunny.
It
Is
looks
that
like a bunny.
Thumper?
I think it might be.
I think that's Thumper from Bambi. Love it. So right now, the second stage is
Se
basically
aproxima
preparing for Dragon
la
separation.
separación de la cápsula.
We are the next step now that, as we said, Dragon has nominal
Dos
orbital
minutos,
insertion.
2 minutos
The
faltan más o
second
menos.
stage and
Bueno, un
Dragon
minuto
will
van a ver en
separate.
realidad. Pero ya se encuentra en
The
órbita.
first stage use there of our MVAC engine now shut off, no longer glowing that lovely shade of orange. Right now, the second stage is about 200 kilometers above Earth. Preparing now for stage separation, or excuse me, for Dragon separation. For those of you that have just recently joined us, we had an on-time liftoff of the Axiom 1 crew. They are now in space and coming up to separation from second stage, at which point they will then begin to make their journey, continue their journey to the International Space Station. The view that you're currently looking at is inside the Dragon.
Separación de la cápsula.
Has just separated from the
Increíblemente.
second stage.
On behalf of the Falcon 19, welcome to space. Thanks for flying
Increíble.
Falcon 9. Guys, enjoy
Lo
your
que
trip
es
to
la
that
emoción
wonderful
de un
space station in
lanzamiento
the sky.
tripulado.
Great research for us. We'll look to see you back here underground. Now stand by for some words from LD.
And MLA and the rest of the crew Endeavor, glad we got to have some fun this morning. We'll probably be calling it an early weekend over here at the Cape. Pass you over to Anna and the team. You'll be in good hands. Godspeed, Endeavor. Enjoy the rest of your flight. Cheers.
Increíble la separación.
A lot of fun. I venture to guess we had a little bit more than you did. We thank you and your launch team, Gerst, you and the Falcon 9 team. It was a hell of a ride, and we're looking forward to the next 10 days.
All right, some nice words there from a couple of key folks. Our first Quindar tone of the mission.
Yeah. I queued up right when I heard that.
There we can
expected loss of signal, Bermuda and New Hampshire.
There we can see Dragon Endeavor on its way to the International Space Station. It has separated. There's a view
Dragon
inside.
SpaceX, we had nominal dehumidifier activation, service section Draco checkouts.
There we can see over the shoulder of
SpaceX Endeavor, we copy, Arthur.
over the shoulder. Previously, Commander MLA was on the left and pilot Larry Connor was on the right. Live view inside the cabin. They just got the okay to lift their visors.
All right.
All right. So we can see that everyone is in space.
Yeah.
We can see that 0G indicator
Bueno, mañana
floating around.
11:46
Great view there
UTC, o sea,
of
11:46 horario
Dragon
universal.
Endeavor. Now in space with
Está
the Axiom 1
planificado
crew on their way
que
to
la
the International
cápsula
Space
se
Station.
acople a la
This
estación
is a day of
espacial.
firsts. You know, this is my first time getting to participate in a
Mañana
launch like this. This is
sábado.
a first for Axiom. I mean, this is a first for spaceflight, and it's just
Eh,
wonderful to see such a picture
Sí,
perfect
si
launch.
llego,
It really was.
We saw the landing.
si no
we
tengo que
saw,
hacer nada, estaremos en
0G
vivo
insertion at the same time, and it was
compartiendo
perfect.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to see.
el acoplamiento. Pero bueno,
All right, well, as I just said, today's launch is
increíble.
one for the history books. So to punctuate this
Ahora
milestone
les voy a
that NASA
mostrar
and
una cosa que
commercial
hay en la
companies
página
are
de
able to achieve
SpaceX.
together, we go
Está
now to
muy,
Kennedy
muy
Space
buena.
Center, where Megan
Déjenme.
Cruz is with NASA's Kathy Leaders.
I'm here right now with the Associate Administrator of NASA's Space Operations Mission Director. It's so great to have you here, Kathy. What did you think of the launch?
Oh my gosh, it's always like, you know, right in the bottom of my throat. I'm holding, can't breathe.
Yes.
But what a
Les
beautiful,
voy a
beautiful
compartir
sight.
algo
So good to see it.
de para
I want to
que
tell
vean.
everybody working Artemis 1 wet dress, we're off the range. We're off the range for Axiom 1 and we can get moving. But you always want to hear
Ahí está.
the engine cut off. You always want to hear
Esto mismo
the
de la
second
página
stage
oficial de
engines
SpaceX.
lighting. You always want to hear, you
Que esto lo
know,
empezaron a
each of
hacer desde
these
Impresión
stages, and
4.
we need to just
Como ven acá pueden ver el seguimiento de la Crew Dragon
different steps to get that crew there to the
y el
International
seguimiento
Space
de la Estación
Station
Espacial Internacional.
What does Axiom 1 represent? Axiom 1 and also future private astronaut missions to the International Space Station.
Hey, you know,
La verdad que
NASA's
simplemente épico.
original goal was to enable commercial industry. That was
Así que bueno.
actually in our original Space Act agreement. And so here
Vamos
we
a
are,
volver
you know,
a la
60 years
transmisión en vivo.
later, enabling that through our missions. And so I just feel like this is a culmination of 60 years of work for us. And here we are once again getting to see, and for the first time getting to have commercial, you know, private astronauts going to the International Space Station, and they'll get to see what our government what they're calling professional astronauts doing their real work, but then also getting to do their work too. And it's another place where learning to peacefully work in space, I think, is moving us forward.
Yeah, so important. And you know, we just watched Axiom 1 lift off from that launch pad right there behind us. In a couple of weeks, we're going to see Crew 4 launch from that same launch pad. And then just right next to it, Pad 39B, we have NASA's brand new space launch system. Can you recall a busier time we've had here at the Space Coast? And how is Kennedy Space Center managing its new role as this multi-user spaceport?
So I think somebody else, Bob Cabana had this dream of a multi-user spaceport here. So I think he should be very, very proud of his KSE team, and Janet Petro and her team are obviously leading the way right now, because this is not easy to do. It's not easy to go make sure all of these people have all the capabilities and are obviously working with our Air Force sister agency there too, and making sure that all these launches get supported in a seamless way. Just an amazing job.
Yeah, a lot of juggling that has to happen.
Yep.
So,
Ahora,
I just talked about SLS. We are looking forward to the moon.
ahora voy a buscar en Twitter a ver si por casualidad no hay algún video que se vea el despegue de Falcon 9, pero con el SLS de fondo.
How to do things yet for the moon and Mars. And really the cheapest place for us to see a differential gravity environment and for the long term is still LEO.
Yeah.
And so we've got to continue to do these long duration flights, keep doing our medical protocols, keep doing our physical protocols, keep testing.
Si encuentro algún video lo compartiré en Twitter.
Through those long duration missions. It's the only place where we can do
Ando
that right now.
buscando.
And so we still
Pero
need to
debe
be
ser
able to
épica esa
have
vista.
this kind of a test bed for us to be checking out and proving our protocols, our research, our technology before you go put somebody in a rocket that's going to go to Mars, right? So just like always, we prepare, we get ourselves ready, and a low Earth orbit destination is a perfect place to do that.
And again, how does us fostering commercialization efforts in space, how does that free us up to pursue these other dreams that we have as an agency?
So, the administrator today in the pre-mission conference, he said, we right now are doing, this is our first step. We're working with a commercial company to have them come to our International Space Station. And we're learning to work together and figuring out how to work together. And this is going to be an important step for us, because moving forward, we would actually like to now be able to buy a ride and time on orbit with a commercial company to be able to have them do that. And so this is the first step of their learning from us and us learning from them. And then in the future, we're going to have space station for another 8 years, but we would like by the early 2030s for us to be flipping the roles and have our professional astronauts going up and checking and doing and focusing on the research and technology we need for exploration, but allowing commercial providers to be doing the hard work of maintaining the laboratory.
Kathy, what an exciting future. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Dan.
All right, hey, thanks, Megan. It is great to see the AX-1 mission on orbit. The team here with the space station are ready. We're ready to get them on board. So their journey just started. They've got about 20 and a half hours until they're docked to the space station. Again, they're headed for the Zenith port on Node 2. That's the space-facing one on the very top, with that docking scheduled right now for 11:45 GMT on Saturday. That is just about 6:45 a.m. here in Houston, 4:45 a.m. for the teams out on the West
Bueno,
Coast.
gente, voy a poner la repetición del lanzamiento y ya nos despediremos. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos en esta retransmisión en directo. Y mañana no se olviden que tenemos el acoplamiento a las 11:46 hora universal, si no mal recuerdo. Igual yo todo esto lo estaré informando en Twitter. Estaré informando si pasa algo en la Dragon, hacer la cápsula. Estaré informando el horario del acoplamiento, horario para cada país hispano, como estamos haciendo siempre. Y bueno, vamos a repetir el video del lanzamiento.
actually just heard in our ears just now, successful nose cone opening.
Mira, estos cortan ya. Una cosa.
All right, so that was basically the last physical step for this morning. So that we're gonna start wrapping it up. Now, over the next 20 hours, Dragon will execute.
Ahí está.
White cloud of condensation around the strong back. Big event coming up now. T-minus 1 minute. All the flight computers take over. Let's listen in to the last minute of terminal count.
FTS is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and now controlling.
Dragon is in countdown.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Endeavour, we acknowledge, go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Stop. Go Falcon, go Dragon. Godspeed, Axiom 1.
Copy 1 Alpha. Mission downrange.
Together, a new chapter begins. Godspeed AX-1.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T-plus 38 seconds into this historic mission, flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
Range telemetry nominal. Stage 1 throttle down.
Throttling down in the preparation for max dynamic pressure.
Falcon 9 is supersonic. Max Q. Stage 1 throttle up.
Merlin 1D engines coming back up to power.
1 Bravo.
Copy 1 Bravo.
The crew calling out 1 Bravo should a escape situation arise. It tells the Dragon flight computer what profile to fly using the Super Draco engines. But everything is looking good on Falcon 9. We're getting nominal callouts from all the engineers and a great view from the ground camera and the onboard cameras.
Evac chill underway.
Beginning to chill in the second stage turbo pump in preparation for its ignition coming up in just over half a minute from now. Coming up on about 3.5 G's acceleration for the crew. We'll begin throttling down the Merlin engines to hold that level of acceleration. Next event coming up, we're going to get main engine cutoff of the 9 engines. Get stage separation and ignition of the second stage engine. You've heard the throttle down call out. We're holding 3.5 G's for the crew.
And Miko. Stage separation is Copy 2 Alpha. Evac ignition.
Successful stage separation and ignition of the second stage engine. On the left, the titanium grid fins beginning to slowly deploy. Great views from the first stage camera. The first stage now begins a slow flip maneuver. You can see the white nitrogen gas plumes as we reorient for an entry back through the Earth's atmosphere a little bit later in the plus count. Second stage, we see the engine nozzle glowing red. Everything continuing to look good on the second stage. We should be hearing call-outs coming up to the crew here shortly on how the trajectory is looking.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
It's what we like to hear.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
AOS Bermuda, acquisition of signal. Bermuda tracking station now getting telemetry from the second stage of the Falcon 9 with the Dragon on top. T plus 4 minutes, 10 seconds. Everything continues to be nominal. First stage coasting to apogee, and then it'll come back down for landing on the drone ship. Second stage, partway through its lengthy burn to get the crew into orbit. So Kate, 4.5 minutes in, everything continues to look good.
What a absolutely picture-perfect liftoff. We've got a live view of the crew inside Dragon Endeavour. Looks like everyone is still pretty comfy. As John had said earlier, we got
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
All right, good call out there that trajectory is nominal.
Endeavour, we copy.
As John mentioned, we got to about 3.5 Gs there.
Acquisition of signal, New Hampshire.
On the left-hand side of your screen, we can see the first stage as it is making its way back down to Earth. It's targeting a landing on our drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas, which is parked a couple hundred miles off the coast of Florida out in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage on the right-hand side, everything continues to be nominal there, as the MVAC engine is powering the second stage and Dragon Endeavour to its targeted drop-off orbit. Absolutely beautiful views of both the first and second stages.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
All right, so coming up in about 1.5 minutes, the first stage will execute the first of 2 burns required for today's landing attempt. At about T plus 7 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll see the entry burn begin. That's where the first stage will ignite the center engine first, and then a couple seconds later ignite 2 more engines, so a total of 3 engine burn, which will last about 29 seconds. The entry burn slows the vehicle down significantly as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere. The first stage sees high drag, which scrubs roughly 70% of that velocity by the time that the landing burn begins. Stunning view where you can see the curvature of the Earth there on the left-hand side.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
SpaceX Endeavour, we copy.
There you can see the nitrogen gas thrusters. So that's the puff of gas that you see there occasionally. That's used for attitude control systems. We also utilize those grid fins that you see. There are 4 of them placed around the booster. And those grid fins also help steer for a precise landing, either at
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 2 flight
All right,
termination.
there we can see that that entry burn has begun. We are targeting a landing on our drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas, today. Everything continuing to look nominal with trajectory and MVAC performance there for our second stage on the right-hand side. So we are conducting the entry burn. Previously, the booster was...
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
That entry burn helps slow the booster down. It was going about 25 times the speed of sound. So we slow it down as it re-enters the dense part of the Earth's atmosphere. The next event is second engine cutoff, or SECO 1, as you see it there on the timeline at the bottom of your screen.
Stage 2 and terminal guidance.
That's where we shut down the MVAC engine, or second engine cutoff.
Copy, Shannon.
Stage 1 transonic.
Note that our landing burn and second engine cutoff will occur about the same time.
MVAC shut down.
All right, we got a live view of the crew inside Dragon Endeavour there on the right-hand side of your screen.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Landing burn has begun for the first stage.
SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
All right, great news there. Dragon Endeavour, nominal orbit insertion.
SpaceX Endeavour, we copy, and it's great to be here. 0G, and we feel fine.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
SpaceX Dragon launch skip system disarmed.
As you can see, this Falcon 9 has landed for the 5th time. All the while, great commentary there.
Landing confirmed.
While we can confirm the landing.
Signal Newfoundland and loss of signal is expected. Cape.
Confirmed landing there of the first stage booster. Also, almost simultaneously, great news for the second stage. We heard that there was nominal orbit insertion for Crew Dragon Endeavour. There you can see a live view inside our Dragon. Looks like the crew is beginning to adjust to 0G. And if you look at the right-hand side corner, it looks like we can see the 0G indicator.
You know, that was one of the things I really wanted to see, what they were going to bring for their 0G indicator. So I can't wait to see what comes on.
It looks, I can't quite tell, Pokemon. Maybe, okay, well, hopefully it'll come into closer view.
Yeah, and if not, we'll get to ask them later, hopefully.
Yeah, great to see the crew here again, starting to, really getting their first taste of microgravity.
Yeah.
Oh, it has ears? Oh, it's a bunny. Is that
like
Thumper?
I think it might be.
I think that's Thumper from Bambi. Love it. So right now, the second stage is basically preparing for Dragon separation. The next step now that, as we said, Dragon has nominal orbital insertion, the second stage and Dragon will separate. Views there of our MVAC engine now shut off, no longer glowing that lovely shade of orange. Right now, the second stage is about 200 kilometers above Earth. Preparing now for stage separation, or excuse me, for Dragon separation. For those of you that have just recently joined us, we had an on-time liftoff of the Axiom 1 crew. They are now in space and coming up to separation from second stage, at which point they will then begin to make their journey, continue their journey to the International Space Station. The view that you're currently looking at is inside the Dragon trunk, which, as you can see, has just separated from the second stage.
Dragon separation confirmed.
On behalf of the Falcon 9 team, welcome to space. Thanks for flying Falcon 9. You guys enjoy your trip to that wonderful space station in the sky. Do some great